This video was made possible thanks to CuriosityStream. Watch TLDR ad-free and get exclusive videos from us by signing up to the CuriosityStream Nebula bundle at curiositystream.com/TLDR UK. What are the nations of Britain? To most of us, the answer to this question will seem obvious: the English, Scottish, Welsh and Northern Irish nations. The idea that Cornwall too might be regarded as a separate nation is considered by many as, well, a bit of a joke. It was even mentioned once in a Simpsons special when Lisa shouts the Cornish slogan, "Kernow beers Vicken," which translates into English as "Freedom for Cornwall now." Nevertheless, the independence movement is taken very seriously by some in Cornwall. So in this video, we're going to unpack what the case for Cornish independence is and if they have any real hope of achieving it. Discussion around Cornish independence usually centres on three general points: that Cornwall has a Celtic cultural identity separate from that of England, and that the Cornish people have a national civic or ethnic identity separate from that of English people, that Cornwall should be granted a degree of devolution or autonomy, usually in the form of a Cornish National Assembly, and that Cornwall should be recognised as a sovereign state, not merely a county of England. So why do some in Cornwall believe that they have the right to independence? Well, like most nationalist movements, it can be explained through geography and history. Cornwall is located in the southwest of England, a rocky peninsula jutting out some 90 miles into the Atlantic Ocean, surrounded by waves on all sides but one. Even on land there's water separating it from its closest county, Devon, by the great river Tamar, which runs almost from sea to sea. Due to its isolated geography, many in Cornwall have understandably felt cut off from the rest of Britain. When it comes to history, following the collapse of Roman rule in Britain, the natural fortress of Cornwall became a place of refuge for many of the original British inhabitants, referred to as Celts. After they were driven westward by Saxon conquerors, an independent British polity was established in Cornwall and was defended against Saxon incursion for many hundreds of years. Not until 838 at the Battle of Hingston Down were the Celts finally defeated. Yet for centuries after this battle, Cornwall still retained many of the marks of a separate country. Although medieval Cornwall was, technically speaking, an English county just like any other, the culture of the ordinary Cornish people remained entirely different from that of their English neighbours. They still spoke in the Cornish tongue, a Brythonic language closely allied with Welsh and Breton. They still prided themselves on being descended from Celtic ancestors, rather than Saxon ones. During the 14th century, the English crown had established two special administrative institutions in Cornwall, the Duchy of Cornwall and the Stanary Organisation, which oversaw the local tin mining industry. This naturally led to many ordinary Cornish people believing that they had been granted a unique constitutional status to reflect their unique cultural identity. Many Cornish people continued to regard Cornwall not as an English county, but as its own country, called Kernow. The distinction was so prevalent that in 1603 a Venetian ambassador wrote that Elizabeth I had ruled over 5 different peoples: English, Welsh, Cornish, Scottish and Irish. However, over time there was a decline of the Cornish language, which was the central badge for Cornish ethnic identity. For centuries, the Cornish tongue gradually retreated to the west as the common people of eastern Cornwall steadily abandoned it in favour of English, the language that was already spoken by most of the local gentry and was therefore regarded as more refined. By 1700, there were only 5,000 Cornish speakers left. So let's get up to speed. What about present times? In 2014, under the European Framework Convention for the Protection of National Minorities, the UK government recognised Cornish as a national minority. The Cornish now have the same legal status as other Celtic minorities, such as the Scots, the Welsh and the Irish. However, unlike those, Cornwall isn't a nation and doesn't have a devolved government. With regards to the Cornish language, it remains untaught in schools and at best a token second language. Cornish was declared extinct by the UN in 2009, with reports of less than 1,000 people who speak it. In terms of its economy, tin mining and fishing used to be the most important sectors. However, there's been a steady decline of these industries. Nowadays, agriculture and tourism are the two main sectors. Unfortunately, Cornwall is still one of the poorest regions in the UK, and before Brexit, it qualified for poverty-related grants from the EU. During the Brexit referendum, 56.5% of Cornwall voted leave, even though between 2000 and 2014, the EU invested £888 million in Cornwall and the Isles of Scilly. So far, the replacement funding offered by Westminster has been insufficient. Cornwall has only been promised a maximum of £3 million by the Tory government to directly replace the £100 million it could have been eligible for if the UK had remained in the EU. Tim Dwelly, an independent councillor, said residents who voted for Johnson are feeling used. Boris Johnson promised the county the same investment it got from the EU, and he now seems to have completely broken his promise. Meanwhile, destitution endures, with 1 in 3 kids in Cornwall living in poverty. Understandably, so many in Cornwall have felt neglected by successive UK governments and feel that Westminster has very little understanding of the county's needs. This has only pushed the desire for Cornish independence even more. Many nationalists argue that Cornwall remains a territorial and constitutional duchy with the right to veto Westminster legislation. It's not merely a historic county of England, as it wasn't officially incorporated until the Local Governments Act of 1888, which established county councils. Technically, there's still a Cornish Stannary Parliament, as it was never formally dissolved after its last official meeting in 1753. But is Cornish independence realistic? Cornwall currently has a population of around 570,000, which would make it a similar size to that of other smaller European nations, such as Luxembourg and Montenegro. Its capital city would likely be Truro, which is the current administrative capital. It already has its own flag, national anthem and language. Many Cornish nationalists point to how the SNP was merely a fringe party back in the 1950s, but now Scotland is very close to gaining independence. However, like Scotland, there are still many question marks of whether Cornwall would be able to compete on its own in economic terms. Besides, it doesn't look like there's much demand for full independence. Even the main Cornish Nationalist Party do not advocate for full independence, but rather devolution within the United Kingdom. The party advocates the establishment of a fully devolved, democratically elected Cornish National Assembly, established by a dedicated standalone bespoke Act of Parliament, with powers similar to those in Wales, Scotland and Northern Ireland. This would be complemented by a Cornish civil service. In Wales, the existence of the Senedd has allowed the nation to generate policy targeted to its specific cultural and economic needs. Meanwhile, the Scottish Parliament has given communities the right to buy local land and introduced the Scottish Child Payment to help tackle poverty. So, for many Cornish nationalists, they are simply comparing themselves to other Celtic nations and asking for the same thing. The Cornish Nationalist Party has little political representation, but the Liberal Democrats have, in the recent past, promised more devolution. In their 2015 manifesto, the Lib Dems promised to offer the people of Cornwall a referendum on the option of a Cornish Assembly, and today the party still supports Cornish devolution. Therefore, for the moment, a devolved government seems more likely than full independence, at least for now. If that's not enough TLDR for you, you should head over to Nebula. You might have heard of them before, but my creator friends and I have teamed up to build our own platform where we don't need to worry about demonetization or the algorithm. Over there you can find all of our latest videos ad-free, and we're also going to start posting exclusive Nebula Plus videos over there too, with our very first one already live. It's not just us either, all our favourite educational creators are already there, like Wendover Productions, Real Life Law, Polymatter, Legal Eagle, Half as Interesting, and many more. But wait, we said this video was brought to you by CuriosityStream, right? Well, as a platform full of the best documentaries online, they naturally love educational creators like us. As such, we've worked out a deal whereby if you sign up to CuriosityStream using the link in the description, you'll also get free access to Nebula. That's not a trial either, you'll get access for as long as you're a member. To make things even better, for a limited time, they're offering a deal where you can get 26% off their already low price, making an entire year of both services less than $15. less than $15 a year for all your favourite educational creators, as well as superb documentaries on CuriosityStream. Signing up at curiositystream.com/TLDR UK or clicking the link below not only gets you the best deal, but it also directly supports TLDR and educational content on the platform more generally, as well as getting you original content and an ad-free experience.